Hey there, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. In this video, I'm going to share with you some music production tips on how to recreate the bass, drums, and vocal chops that you can hear on DJ Khaled's No Brainer. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Now the drum pattern for this track is pretty much a no-brainer. See what I did there? Anyways, it's pretty straightforward and simple, so let's just take a look at the drum pattern. So we've got the drum rack here, and here's the sequence. Pretty simple, and the sounds I'm using could be found in the Beat Academy sample pack, which you can download absolutely free. It's a pack that I've created from some of my past projects and filled with construction kits, loops, sounds, one-shots, transition effects. Yours absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box to download that. And I'm using the kick, snap, and snare, and the hats all from that pack. So next, let's go ahead and do some sound designing to create the bass. Now when I hear the bass in this record, I notice that it's not just a mono, low, sine wave, deep subby bass. There's some width to this, and what I mean by width is just it sounds wider, like the stereo imaging is pretty wide. So I know there's going to be some chorus involved, or maybe even using some kind of unison in there. So I'm going to use a wavetable that's an instrument that comes in Ableton Live 10, but you could follow along using any 2 or more oscillator synth that you might have in your DAW. So let's focus in on oscillator 1. Let's start with not just having that deep subby sine wave, but let's go ahead and maybe use somewhat of a maybe between, or something like a triangle where there's a little bit more presence and not just a full-on dark lower tone. All right, and I'm going to shape a little bit of the waveform so that we and switch it from poly to mono. And what I'm doing is, when you switch a synth from polyphonic to monophonic, you're really only allowing one note to be played at the same time. And it's always wise to have bass synths or bass patches set to mono, so that when you're going from one note to the next, that last note doesn't linger, and then it just gets all really just muddy and sloppy on the bottom end. So let's just switch it to mono for that purpose. All right, and then let's go ahead and incorporate a second oscillator on there. We're going to layer it with another oscillator. And this one might be a little bit brighter. So with the wavetable, what I like about it is you can choose directly the specific waveform, and you have plenty of different waveforms to choose from. But I like that you can kind of go in between a waveform as well. So let's start. So that'll be something around, between like a sawtooth and a triangle wave. And what I'll do is I'll just lower that in volume here. Now what's going to help me shape the sound is if we eliminated any of the high end, I can use the onboard filter to do exactly that. So let's go to the filter frequency, and let's just crank that down till we lose some of the high end and that buzziness that we have in the bass. And just cranking a little bit of the resonance, because you can see that there, so that we get a little bit of that that peak happening right there. And I'm going to enable the filter drive in this, so we'll use the MS2 drive. So we're really just cranking the filter drive here. Now what I'm going to do is enable the sub harmonic tone underneath these two oscillators. So I'm going to turn the sub on, and let's just lower the gain. That brings the bottom end right back into the synth, and we can shape the tone till we just get it to right to where we're listening. When we listen to the reference record and I hear it, I'm going to shape the tone of the bottom sub. Now what's really going to give that chorusy effect and that wide bouncy type of tone to this bass is going to be in the unison. And that's over here on the right side of this, and I'm going to use the classic unison. It's almost going to detune itself so that it gives that chorusy effect. All right, so let me go back to that first oscillator. I might want to lower that a little so the sub actually becomes more in the limelight. And now this is where I just to taste, a personal taste, I'm gonna crank the frequency knob a little bit so I get a little more of that buzz back into it, and you know, not so much. It's almost like if I put a blanket completely on top of the synth, I want to let a little bit of the high end breathe a little bit now. Cool. So now let's go ahead and add a saturator just to saturate it some more, right? Give it some more drive. I'm gonna crank this up, maybe 4 to 5, and lower the output a little bit. So I like to do that sometimes just to balance them out, so I get the tone of the saturator, but not necessarily the volume boost. Now let's listen to the drums and the bass together. And now I'm going to draw our attention to the vocal chops that we hear throughout the record, which is really the core and the heart behind that beat anyways. Immediately when the song starts, that's where the spotlight is drawn to. So for this, I'm going to record my own vocals and go ahead and show you how I go about chopping them and creating that same type of sequence and feel that you can incorporate into your productions. So what I did was, the first step was, before tracking my vocals, is I re-pitched the bass. And here's the reason why. I pitched it down 5 semitones. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to grab the pitch plugin underneath the MIDI effects folder, grab a pitch, put that over the bass line, and let's just go ahead and hit -5. All right, now we have the bass line detuned or repitched. I'm changing the key. And the reason for this is I'm going to sing my vocal at this lowered pitch version. That way, when I incorporate the chopping and I pitch it up, I'm going to have it pitched up 5 semitones up, and it's going to sound like a sample. That way, I'm not having to sing my voice at the original key. Basically, I'm not trying to re-sing at the same key that the original sample's in. This is a great method that I use sometimes to kind of make my own vocal chops and my own vocals sound like a sample. So I would go ahead and sing them at a lower, I would change the key. I would go maybe 5 or even sometimes 6 or 7 semitones down, sing it, and then when I go to my original key, that vocal will be pitched up. So let me walk you through that process. So here is the vocals recorded.
I don't know what I'm singing, so I'm saying stuff. Just a vocal job, and I don't know what I'm saying, so just go ahead and make fun of it.
Now, granted, that's the vocal line, right? And I'm just using a vocal chain plugin that I've put together. This is without it.
I don't know what I'm singing, so I'm saying stuff. Just a vocal job, and I don't know what I'm saying, so just...
This is a vocal chain that I've put together. You know, it's really simple to use. I've got it all mapped out to some of my favorite parameters using all the stock plugins within Ableton Live. And if you're interested in downloading this vocal chain, I've put it... it's absolutely free. I've put it within the download link in the description box, along with the sample pack that I've mentioned earlier. So if you want to have this vocal chain, feel free to just click the link below, and this is yours absolutely free. So we've got the vocals there, and now what I'm going to do is just re-record them. I'm going to re-record it with the vocal chain already on it, so it can print with the processed vocal. So let's go ahead and create an audio track. And for this audio track, instead of external input, I want the input to come from my Vox, which is the track that has that vocal line in there. And I'm simply going to arm this track and hit the record button in a clip.
I don't know what I'm singing, so I'm saying stuff. Just a vocal job, and I don't know what I'm saying, so just go ahead and make fun of it.
Yeah, so there's the vocal. We can mute this vocal now, and now we have the actual audio of that vocal line.
I don't know what I'm singing,
And so now to chop this up, I'm going to simply use a simpler. So Ableton Live's simpler, we're going to go to our instruments, drag and drop the simpler, and now we can go ahead and drag and drop that new recorded vocal that we've processed and put that in there. So you can use your MIDI controller to trigger it, or any MIDI device that you might have, or your computer keyboard. So let's go from the classic mode in the simpler over to the slice mode, so that the simpler will create individual slices that I can trigger with my MIDI device.
I don't know what I'm singing. so I'm saying.
So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the gate mode so that the moment I lift my finger up from the key, the sample stops playing. In trigger mode, I can let go of the key, but the sample will still play for the duration of that slice length. So I'm going to go to gate. Really helpful to create those nice short vocal chops. And I've lowered the sensitivity down to 86 so I can have a little bit more of the sample within each individual slice. Now, remember, we did sing this in a key that was 5 semitones lower. So now I can pitch this up 5 semitones up.
I don't know what I'm thinking, so I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying.
So now I can go ahead and trigger that, and it's pitched up, so it's got that sample type effect. And I'm going to go to the audio effects folder, and we're going to drop a chorus. Just give this a little bit more stereo depth, and let's just leave it at 50.
I don't know what I'm thinking, so I don't know what I'm thinking, so saying.
All right, so now we can go ahead and sequence that with the beat.
I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm cool. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm saying. I don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm still. I don't.
Well, I hope this video has been helpful for you, and as my gift to you for watching, I'd love to send you that sample pack that I mentioned earlier, including some of the sounds and the vocal chain that I used to process the vocals in this video. They're all included in this sample pack, so just use the link below in the description box to download that. The sample pack is 100% royalty free, meaning that you can use it in your projects and share your music with the rest of the world today. So be sure to download that. Just click the link below or visit beatacademy.com/pack. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.